Hi, this is Craig from ProMystic. Thank you very much for purchasing Inception. I cannot tell you how excited I am to be bringing you this product. I've been doing this for over 10 years now, and I certainly have seen a lot of bone conduction devices. I've always thought it was interesting technology, but I felt that in able to be able to perform it, there was just a lot of things that were not for me. And like I've always said, I only put stuff out that I would personally perform. And it wasn't until Rob Gould came to Magic Live and said, "Hey, Craig," like he always does, "check this out." And he performed this for me. And I was blown away. And I instantly approached him for buying it, working with him on it. And fortunately, we've been friends for a very long time. And he instantly agreed. And we bring you Inception. We took the design that he had, we miniaturized it, and we came out with something that I think is absolutely fantastic. Every other device I've ever seen had limitations and issues that whether you couldn't hear it very well or there was too much bleed of the noise, several different things. And I think this really addressed all of those issues. And one thing I want to tell you about using bone conduction like this in your show, this is not an instant stooge. Okay, this is not somebody that you bring up, you perform this to them, they're like, "Oh yeah, there's a speaker in my head and I can hear this," and then they answer the way you want them to answer and everybody else is amazed and they're kind of impressed that you did something. But this really, when you hear this in your head, this really has an impact on the person on stage as well as the entire audience. I liken it to hypnosis, which is something I use quite a bit. When I'm done hypnotizing somebody, people come up and they say, "What was that like? What happened?" They say, "I don't know. I kind of knew what was going on, but I just did whatever he told me to do." That kind of a thing. They really don't know what happened. They can kind of remember it, but they have no place to put it. And everybody's amazed by that. This is along those same lines. You use this, the person on stage has no idea where it came from. Their eyes were closed, their ears were plugged, and they heard a voice in their head, or they heard something in their head, and they don't know where it came from. And they had an answer for a question, and so that's one of the reasons this is just really, really a fantastic device to use in almost anything that you do. I'm going to go through, there's a lot of features built into this that will suit many of your performance needs. There's a lot of great features. I'm going to go through all of them. First one is actually quite simple, and that's just charging the unit. Basically, you can use a battery pack or any USB that you want. It comes with a charging cable. You plug it into the USB cable. The unit can be on or off. You plug it in, and the unit will charge. When it's done charging, the light will go off. And once it's charged, this unit is going to last you around 12 hours of use. So it's quite a long time. Next, I want to cover just the on-off switch. It's on the side. It's a little slide switch. It's quite durable. The reason we put this on the side is it allows you to take this. It's designed really to be used in finger palm, and I'm going to show you that's also designed to be strapped on the arm. But in finger palm position, this allows you to easily turn the unit on with one hand, and then I've got a little side button here that allows you, we'll get this later, but it allows you to select tracks, and this is easy to activate with your thumb. With this part being out, this is the bone conduction part. And this is the part that you get placed on the back of the person's head. Now, you can actually place this almost anywhere on the head that you want to, even on the chin, or the forehead, almost anywhere, and they can hear it. So that's the bone conduction part. On the front is the display screen, and again, this is for selecting tracks and turning it on and off. There's also menu options that allow you to go through that. We're going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to show you all the different menu options that you can use with this device. What you can also do is this has 1 gig of memory, and what it's doing is it's playing tracks, which are MP3 files, like song or music files. It's playing those in the bone conduction device. So it's playing them to the back of the head, and that's what they're going to hear. So you can record anything you want, male voices, female voices, sounds. You can make ghost sounds if you want, all kinds of different, any kind of MP3 you can make. That's exactly what they can hear. Why don't we go ahead and go through the menu options, and then we'll go into how to perform with it. So we'll zoom in and we'll show you the menu options. Okay, let me show you all of the different features here on the Inception. There's quite a few to go over. First of all, when you turn it on, you'll see the display light up. And in the far right corner, you'll see the battery indicator, and you'll see it's fully charged with 2 bars. We've got the volume indicator. This is vibration mode, and that is tilt mode, and that is the radio being on or off, so that's the radio mode. And you'll see the word colors there. That happens to be the current playlist. The playlist is simply the name of a folder at the top level of the directory structure. When you plug this into your laptop, you'll see different directories. So we have colors, dice, general. You can make anything that you want, any number of folders that you want, and then you put your files underneath these folders. And that's gone over more on how to move files over to your unit. Let's just talk about the battery life. If it gets down to about half charge, you're down to about 5 or 6 hours, and then you want to probably start charging it, pretty soon after that. The next one's volume. At any point in time, you can turn the volume up or down. We have a side button here that enters and exit menus, but these front buttons adjust your menu options, and at any time you can adjust volume by just adjusting these. So you see volume 8, you just let that sit, it turns off, and then it sticks at volume 8. Let's move it down to 6 now, and it's just going to stay on volume 6. Now in order to go into, we've got a little square down here as well. That's showing that the unit is stopped and it's not playing. So there's no sound coming out of this. In order to go into the menus, we press and hold this side button. We just press and hold it, and now we are inside the menu. We press and hold it again to exit. Now we're out of the menu because it's not lit anymore. That saves all of the changes that we made, which we didn't make any, but that will save all the changes. If you've gone in the menu mode and you've done a bunch of things and changed things, if you simply turn it off and turn it back on, it goes back to, it basically gets rid of all those changes you made. This is what's used to save them. So that saves them when you use it to exit. Otherwise, you can just turn it off, and that gets rid of any changes you made if you think you messed something up. Let's go ahead and enter the menu mode by pressing and holding. Now we're in the menu mode, and we see the colors playlist is highlighted, and it shows us we have 6 valid tracks in the colors playlist. Now we can use these front buttons to choose other playlists. This will move us forward. So this is Dice 6, General 6, Zener 5, Colors 6, Dice 6. This will move us backwards. So let's go ahead and just check and select. So if we want dice, we've got that selected. If we wanted to keep that, we would press and hold this thing and exit, and that would be kept. I'm going to give it a quick click to go to the next menu option, which is the autoplay option. Now autoplay is that thing where if you turn this thing on, it's going to autoplay that one song that you have selected. So I'm going to click the right button. It's going to say autoplay number 1. That means it's going to play the first song or the first track inside the Dice playlist, since the Dice was the one that we had selected. Whatever playlist you have selected, that'll play it. Now, we have autoplay 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It doesn't let us go past 6 because there were only 6 playlists, 6 songs in that playlist. So we can select any of the valid tracks that we want to. Let's just do this for 1 second. The minute I come out of it, it gives us a delay that we see there. We'll set that in just a minute, but it starts to play. So you see pound 4, which is a track 4, playing. If we turn this thing off and we turn it back on, it's going to start playing instantly. This is autoplay that I mentioned before. It's the simplest way. You simply turn it on, it plays whatever track you want. In this case, it's the Dice playlist, track number 4. I have like cards, and I have like 4 cards set up so that if I'm doing a walk around gig, I can force one of 4 cards and I can play that track. So that's what I use. Now, in order to, I'm going to turn autoplay back off. I'm going to press and hold this. And again, we see that we're in the Dice playlist. I'm going to click this to go to autoplay, and I'm going to hit negative to go down to 1, and then I'm going to turn it off. And you'll see these other modes, these little icons turn on after that. I'm going to click to the next one. That's the receiver. So the receiver is the frequency. A is the frequency that all of your products are going to be on. Sometimes you can set them to B, and there's other numbers here. So there's B, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we even have a star for future expansion. But your Pro Mystic products as default are on A. If you've set one of your products to B, you can move this to B, and it will run on the B. I'm going to show you how this works with the Dice in just a minute. This Dice happens to be on B, so I'm going to leave it there. Let's click it one more time. Tilt sense. So this is medium, and we have low, medium, and high. I typically set mine to medium. What this does is during performance, if you have this strapped to your arm, if you bring the unit up like this and place it on top of somebody's head, it's when it actually locks. So it'll actually lock the track in. If it's set to high sensitivity, it locks very quickly. If it's set to low sensitivity, you've got to get really, really flat. So I keep it about at medium, and so it's going to lock in about 45 degrees. And we'll talk about that a little bit more during performance. The vibration mode, radio on and events on. So radio, this is going to tell this thing to vibrate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, for example, with the dice. So it's going to give you the vibrations of the actual number that's on the dice. So you know what's numbers on the dice, along with then playing the appropriate track. Events are basically when it starts and stops playing tracks, it can vibrate. So that's what events are for. And again, you can turn it on and off here, and this one can be turned on and off here. I'm going to leave them both on. Let's go to track delay. So once it's going to start playing the track, it'll have a built-in delay in the very beginning. You can set this from anywhere from 0 to 9 seconds. You can see we've lost 1 bar in our battery there. This unit wasn't fully charged up before we started to use it. So I'm going to bring this thing back. I'm going to set this thing to a track delay of 2 seconds. Depending on what you're doing, you may want a bunch of white space before it starts, or you may want just a little bit. Track repeats. I'm going to have the track repeat 8 times. You do need it to repeat. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having it say in their head, you know, the card I'm thinking of is the 8 of clubs. It's the 8 of clubs I'm thinking of. It's, you know, your track can say that word a few times, and you can repeat it multiple times. So when it gets done playing the entire track once, it will play it again and again. And you can set this all the way up to infinite if you want. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because if you ever get in a situation where a person can't hear it or you need it to be repeated, it's just going to constantly do that until you just turn this thing off and put it back in your pocket. So it doesn't ruin the effect at all to have multiple repeats. So I keep it at a very high level. So I think 8's fine with me, but you certainly can do infinite. Brightness is just the brightness of the display. You can see that adjusts. I'm going to keep it at 9 right now for the video. And at the very end, it gives you a firmware version. So if we ever have a question for you, we might have you look to see what your firmware is. And I'm going to press this, and it loops all the way back around to dice. I'm going to press and hold this, and now it's going to actually stay there. So now it's in radio mode, because remember we set our receiver to B, and the vibration indicator's on, and it's also the tilt was set to medium. So I'm going to take my dice, I got the 4 up, I'm going to pull this out of the holder, and you're going to see that it starts to, so, you know, it says 4 is ready, and it just buzzed me 4 times to tell me that that's ready. And this is 1, so now 1 is ready, now 3 is ready. So let's just say the person was to roll a 3. Now my arm is hanging down like this, you know, my arm's hanging down to my side, and this is giving me 3 buzzes, so I know the number on the dice, so I'm getting the reception. I've got the person sitting in a chair, and I bring this thing up horizontally. Now you're not going to be able to see this, but it just gave me a buzz that it was playing. I'm going to go turn that back really quick. You see pound 3 playing? So it's actually playing the 3rd track. When I brought this thing up, it starts to play that 3rd track, and it gives the delay, and it will play it the number of repeats. So the first thing is it gives you a buzz that it's going to play, and then it plays it the number of repeats you have set. And then when you go vertical like this, it gives you a buzz that it's not playing anymore. It actually gives you a 3 buzz, which is basically that 3 is now ready. I'm going to turn this to 6, and then I'm going to have it rolled over here to 2. I had to finish the 6, and now it's going to pick up the 2. So this is basically how you cue yourself to the different numbers and see that it's ready, and then you go vertical like this, and boom, there it's actually playing. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off now, placing it on the dice, and I'm going to turn this unit off, and I'm going to go here. Now, I'm on dice. I'm going to go into a manual mode. So let's say I have the radio off, or maybe my dice isn't even around. I've turned the unit on, I'm sitting there. I'm going to press this like 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And it says 3, enter. So now it's ready to play, and now it's just going to wait, and it starts to play. This doesn't have to be tilted, but if you tilt it up and you tilt it back, it'll actually stop. So you can use the tilt mode to stop it, but you don't need to use the tilt mode to start it. So again, if this is in finger palm, I'm going to hit this thing like 4 times. You could turn tilt mode off, so this is just like a manual mode. So I just hit 4, and you see pound 4, and now it's playing. And if I were to turn tilt off, it would simply play for the number of repeats that I wanted, or until I hit the button and caused it to stop. So when I hit the button, you'll see it stops. So normally I would turn tilt mode off in this case. I would have it finger palmed. I would go 1, 2, 3. I know now it's playing the 3rd song, and I can feel it. It buzzes me, and I put it on their head. When I get done, I put this down by my side, I click it, and it gives me a long buzz, and now it's completely off. So I don't need to worry about it. So that's it using in the manual mode. Again, so I think we've covered everything. How you set your radio frequencies for the equipment that if you want to use the RF, you can. How to set the tilt mode if you want to use tilt mode. Whether you're going to have your events on. So if my events were off, when I hit the side button to start it and stop it, I wouldn't get any buzzes. But I like to know when it starts and stops, so I leave that on. I've got my volume, which I can set at any time. And again, I've got my battery there, so it tells me my battery power, and this is simply the on and off. And again, the side button gets you in and out of menu mode, like that. And these front buttons adjust on any menu mode. So once you're in the menu mode, if you just give the short clicks, you go to the different items, and you can use these front buttons then to set. And to store all that, press and hold, and it comes back. If you don't want to store it, simply turn it off and it will not store it. But that is how you set all of the different options on it. Let's talk about creating your MP3 files. There's several ways to actually do this. It's not the best way to use your phone. You can record on your phone, and you can buy converters to go from your phone format to MP3. Then you've got to move it to a PC and then move it onto your device. That can take a long time to do, and it's not always the best audio quality. I've found a couple of ways to do it that I find are the best. I actually use a Mac, so I'm using GarageBand. Comes with the Mac. You can also download a program called Audacity. So Audacity is a free download that does excellent audio capture. I also recommend buying a USB microphone. You can plug this into the USB port, and it's a microphone, and they're very high quality. Really, for like $35, you can get a very high quality mic, and you can make really excellent recordings on your laptop. You can use the laptop mic if you want, but they're not nearly as good as a USB mic. But you want to make these recordings, and then you want to go ahead and export them. In Audacity, if you play with it a little bit, you can learn how to adjust the volume. So not only does the unit itself have the volume control, but you can adjust the volume on Audacity. So the track can have its volume, and then you can overlay that with the device volume. So if you need something extremely loud, you can have a maximum track volume and then maximum unit volume. I recommend recording fairly loud. That way you can take your unit volume and you can lower it to maybe just a 4 or 5 or a 6 or something, and you're going to still hear it quite well, and it gives you lots of headroom so that you can go up to 7 or 8 or 9 in a super loud bar environment if you want to. So those are the ways that I use to make the MP3 files, and there's lots of help on the Facebook page as well on how to do it. Okay, let's talk a little bit about handling. You really have to make a couple of different decisions, and the first decision is if you're going to finger palm it or if you're going to have it on the strap. I tend to finger palm it for most of my situations, but other times I will definitely use the strap. We'll go over both right now. For finger palm mode, I usually even have this in my pocket. I even use this in walk around, and if I get a really good group and I've been working for a while, I'll have this in autoplay mode. I'll say, would one of you like to experience what it's like to be me, what it's like to feel something? And they'll say yes. I will do something like force a word or an image, or maybe even a playing card. So I could use a Sven pad, I could use a regular deck of cards, but I will force an image. I will bring somebody over, and I will explain to them that in a minute they're gonna feel some sort of sensation, almost like you're doing PK touches. You're gonna feel some sort of sensation. You'll get the distinctive feeling that you'll know what the word is or the image is or whatever, and when you do, please nod your head yes. And what I'd like you to do in a moment is to close your eyes and plug your ears. And when you think you know what it is, I want you to nod your head yes, and they do that. I always put my finger on the forehead first. My finger on the forehead does nothing other than misdirection, but the finger will go on the forehead first. It's the first thing to touch. It's always the last thing to come off. And I'll even say in a minute, I'm going to touch your forehead with my finger. Is that okay? Get a yes, because I don't like to do that without asking. And when you think you know, nod your head. You have to ask that as many times as possible. So just imagine a person standing right next to me, because I have the group here. I force the word over here. The person's next to me. I'm turning around. I pull this out of my pocket and I have it ready to go. And it's in autoplay mode. It's going to play the one word or the one card that I forced. Finger goes on the head. I flip the unit on in my pocket. I have a little delay set. So my hand goes right up the back, and then boom, right on the back of the head. And I wait for them to nod their head. And when they do, the hand comes right down the back, right to my side, and then the finger comes off. So the finger is the first thing on, it's the last thing to come off, no matter how I'm performing it, always the case. If they're sitting in a chair, I'll just come to this position and come back down like that, and the finger comes off. Would you tell everybody what the word is, and they'll say what the word is and what word were you thinking of, and they'll do the reveal, and now you've got person reading other person's mind. Again, I often use like a female voice, so it's not me, and I'll use a person that is a female that's sending, whether this is male or female, doesn't matter, but I like using not my voice or even a male voice if I can do that. So I love using a female voice. That's for the hand palm. The second thing is you can put this thing inside of the strap, and you'll notice this is set up so that you can place it in the strap so that the bone conduction piece is out. You're going to want to strap this onto your forearm, and you're going to want to practice this a little bit so that you get the exact positioning. But the bone conduction piece is facing out, and this is going to go onto the arm in this direction. And of course, you're going to want to know, in this case, actually my strap is backwards. I need to actually put it onto the other way, but I'll just do it that for now. I would want that to be on the other side, so it's easy enough to do. But you want to practice, and you want to practice having this hand on the top of the forehead and bringing this hand around and setting this down toward the top of the head or even the back of the head is totally fine. They'll be able to hear it. You just want to make sure that this is going to be resting, like right in a nice firm spot, because it'll go right through your jacket and they're going to be able to hear it. And again, you'll take the hand off and you'll remove the hand. So those are kind of the motions. This hand always touches first, goes around. And again, eyes are closed. You don't have to close your eyes if you don't want to, but you definitely need the ears plugged for them to hear it properly. So, and I always say it's part of the effect. I don't want you to see anything. I don't want you to hear anything. I want you to heighten your senses, or in order to heighten your senses, I want you to close your eyes. I want you to plug your ears so nothing else is disturbing you, and just concentrate. And then boom, boom, they hear it. Nod your head when you know what it is, and they do. You have to say that first, because once the ears are plugged, they're not going to hear you. Make sure you've done that all up front, and then it comes off. So that is essentially the two different handlings, finger palmed and on your wrist, strapped on. Second thing is how you're going to do the data input. Most people honestly use the autoplay mode. They have one song set up, or there's one single force. If you've watched it on TV, that's mostly what's going on in almost every situation. It's being turned on. It's super simple. Boom, it goes onto the head. They hear that one force and it comes off. So that's really just the easiest way to do it. Of course, the other way is to have it linked with any of your Pro Mystic products. Now, you can have the product itself in play. So you can have the dice in play, and it can tell you, what the number is on the dice if you want to, or you can simply use something like the dice to cue it for yourself. So for example, if I had 6 different countries, I had this on my close-up table or on my stage or whatever, and I happen to know, like, they're marked cards, and I know what country they picked, and I see it. I can walk over and turn my dice to that number of that country, and now I'm going to force that number of that country to that person. So you don't have to. You can use this just to cue yourself. It doesn't have to be that someone's rolling the dice. You can do it that way, or another. You could be using senses, for example, and have objects on a table, and you can always put the phone on 1, the wallet on 2, eyeglasses on 3, that you've borrowed from the audience, and the person picks it up, and this person says, "You've lifted up the phone." And now they know what borrowed object was picked up off the table, so you could have your 5 or 6 tracks being, or actually in this case 5 tracks being the objects on the table that are being picked up, and those could already be placed as the tracks inside of Inception. So that's the other way. Another way to do it is to use the input device from the side, and this is simply just clicking this. So if I click this 3 times when I'm in this manual mode, 1, 2, 3 with my thumb, now I'm playing the 3rd track. It's a little more difficult if it's in your sleeve, if you have to reach over and click that 3 times. But in finger palm mode, it's quite simple to click that 3 times and then bring it up, and boom, now you're going to play the 3rd track. You can click it twice, you can click it any number of times that you want to that's reasonable. I think more than 10 starts to get hard to keep track of. Even more than 6 is a little bit tough to keep track of, but some people can do that. So those are your input devices. You can use the radio device, you can use the manual input on the side, or simply just use the autoplay. So again, thank you very much for purchasing Inception. I know you're going to get fantastic reactions out of this. If you have any questions, please let me know, or write on the Facebook page. There's a lot of people there using it to help you out. But really, really enjoy this, and you'll see it's extremely powerful. You're going to love this.